Friends, there's an important question to ask this morning. Why are we here? Today, in this sanctuary, in these seats, why are we here? For many of us, the answer is simple. It's Rosh Hashanah. Where else would I be? Perhaps we're here because our parents or grandparents brought us here when we were young. Perhaps we come to services because we want to hear the familiar music and prayers at this time of year. Perhaps we're here to affirm the values of our tradition, or to be with those who are most important to us. Perhaps we're here because the message of these holidays resonates with us. We know it's time to consider our deeds and resolve to do better. And at the same time, some of us cannot quite identify why we come. We're a bit uncomfortable with the Hebrew, and truth be told, the English sometimes sounds uncomfortable too. We wonder, what am I getting out of this? Why am I committed to this? And we could expand that question to refer not just to attending a High Holy Day service. Today, that question, why be Jewish, applies to the entire enterprise of Jewish life. We all have neighbors and friends and family members who have largely left Judaism behind. They don't belong to a synagogue. They haven't raised their children with Jewish practice. They're not sitting in shul right now. And they're still good people. They seem to live satisfying and fulfilling lives. So why are we still here? If you have trouble answering the questions I'm posing this morning, don't fret. It's not your fault. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, "It is customary to blame secular science and anti-religious philosophy for the eclipse of religion in modern society. It would be more honest to blame religion for its own defeats. Religion declined not because it was refuted, but because it became irrelevant and dull and oppressive and insipid. When faith is completely replaced by creed, worship by discipline, love by habit, when the crisis of today is ignored because of the splendor of the past, when faith becomes an heirloom rather than a living fountain, when religion speaks only in the name of authority rather than in the name of compassion, its message becomes meaningless." So given this description, why do we actively choose Judaism year after year? First, let's recognize that this is a relatively new question. Our ancestors probably had little choice in the matter. Their identity was fixed and unchangeable. Ghetto walls and social intolerance confined them. Today, we are blessed to live in a society that exalts personal freedom, and with freedom comes options. Each of us is free to opt out of Jewish life anytime we choose. Yet our being here together in such great numbers is a powerful affirmation of our Jewish identity. So this morning, I want us to consider what the choice to live a Jewish life really means, because I fear that we lack concrete and compelling answers. I recall the father who asked me, "Rabbi, what should I tell my son when he asks why he has to go to Hebrew school?" I think of the daughter who was still shocked of the news of her mother's death and asked, "Rabbi, why should I sit Shiva?" Each was asking in their own way, why should I bother to be Jewish, to act Jewish, to have a Jewish life? Now, if we were pressed to articulate what Judaism means to us, what would we say? Many of us might speak of family gatherings on holidays, or of a general affinity for ethics. Both of those are important, but if our Judaism is only synonymous with family get-togethers and being a good person, then we might as well close up shop. By all odds, we should have disappeared long ago, as many other peoples did. The ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Romans. It's utterly miraculous that the Jewish people still thrives. We have survived pogrom and plague, missiles and murder, remembering and advancing at one and the same time. Our very existence magnifies the extraordinary possibilities of humanity, even as we remember its unfathomable cruelty. Even despite our history, prior generations cared enough to safeguard the gifts of Torah and pass them down to us. So what is so precious in Jewish life that we can't let it go? This Rosh Hashanah, think about why being Jewish matters to you. And when you have your own answers, I ask you to share them. Share them with your children or your grandchildren or others whose Jewishness matters to you. Raising a Jewish child is not something that happens only on the morning of a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. It's a daily commitment. So on these high holy days, let's speak about why we bother to be Jewish and why we care so deeply about passing it down to the next generation. Yes, tradition and heritage are enriching, but they're not enough. Bubby and Zaidi, Holocaust in Israel, simply are not compelling reasons to live a Jewish life today. So why? Why should we do it? First, we should be Jewish because Judaism helps us live a better life. We gather at the end of a hectic week, using Shabbat to refocus ourselves on what's most important. The mitzvah of tzedakah prompts us toward generosity. Kindling Hanukkah candles is less about presents and more about bringing light into the dark corners of our world. And these high holy days are a much-needed annual jolt. We're prompted to consider our lives and pledge to do better. Judaism can shape the values and the quality of your life and the kind of person you want to be after much else has faded. I know from personal experience that Judaism can help guide a teen through the confusing years of adolescence. Being part of our youth program anchors and enhances busy lives, even when time is scarce, even when we have homework to do, even when we have extracurriculars that are supposed to get us into college. Yes, Judaism makes a difference for each of us. And second, Judaism helps us improve our world. Our story leads us to identify as Am Kadosh, a holy people set apart by meaning and mission. We are a people commanded to follow the just, never the multitude. We are a people proud to be the outsider, taught to identify with the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. Tikkun Olam, the Jewish duty to repair our broken world, arises from the Jewish mindset that the world is fundamentally out of order, that everything is definitely not okay. And as we sit here today, we hardly need the reminder. Despite their pervasiveness, corruption, inequality, and violence is each a divine injustice, a serious breach in the way that God intended things to be. Our mission is to restore our society to the way God intended. Rabbi Jonah Pesner puts it this way: our purpose is nothing less than redemption of the world. Yes, we are still here, because in every generation there have been Jews who believe that our existence as a people and what we bring to the world matters. Now, most of what I have said up to this point could apply to any Jewish community at virtually any point in history. We, however, live in a particular time and a particular place. And I believe that we need Judaism here in Westport, Connecticut, and now in September 2017, more than ever. We're among the most fortunate human beings on earth. This is a proud community of educated and successful individuals. We're focused on our families. We aim for excellence in all that we do. We are secure. We've satisfied many of our needs. We seem to have it all because our calendars are booked and our resumes are long. Nonetheless, we ache for things that money can't buy, but which are essential to living a good life. Fortunately, Judaism offers those: purpose, gratitude, wonder, awe. Judaism can bring all of those to a life of busyness and accomplishment. Judaism can make our busy lives full. No matter our successes or struggles, Judaism asserts at the end of the day that what we do with our time on this earth matters. Judaism helps us understand that possessions and popularity are fleeting, but that purpose is everything. Saying a blessing, even just one, inspires us to move from focusing on what we lack to toward true gratitude for what we have. We appreciate our good fortune when we gather around the Seder table, for example, to tell our unique story of the Exodus from Egypt. And how wondrous is it to revel in the life-affirming dance of whirling hora at a wedding or a bar mitzvah. We sing familiar prayers and we feel a rare unity that we seek. We pass our Torah scroll into the arms of a 13-year-old boy or girl and we feel a visceral link to generations long gone. These acts make our heart soar in ways that everyday life simply cannot. And that, my friends, is awe. Most importantly, Judaism insists that we are not the end-all and be-all of creation. Judaism helps us understand that there is something larger than us out there in the universe. You can call that nature, justice, truth, wisdom, or even God. And the feeling of connection to that larger force, that too, is awe. At the same time, we know that for many in our community, the image of perfection is nothing more than a facade. Let us make no mistake. There is real heartbreak and disappointment and need and loneliness among us. Each of us has friends and neighbors struggling with an unexplained illness, a recent devastating loss, a difficult career setback, an unhappy home life. Now, fortunately, Judaism brings hope to a world of tumult and uncertainty. We gather at times of personal or communal crisis, lending comfort and strength through adversity. As one member of our board of trustees recently said, this place feels like home in an increasingly disconnected world. Yes, we live in an era that's increasingly violent, chaotic, and scary. The era of Charlottesville, of open racism, of anti-immigrant backlash, of rising global anti-Semitism, of terrorism without borders, of catastrophic hurricanes and earthquakes. Here and now, each of us desperately needs the gifts that Judaism offers. And our world desperately needs the moral clarity that Judaism offers. I'm proud that Temple Israel is a beacon of that moral clarity at this time of dislocation and confusion. We combat a climate of hate and intolerance with tangible acts of justice and compassion. In the past few months alone, our congregation has resettled a Syrian refugee family, has successfully fought on behalf of immigrants unfairly targeted for deportation, and supported dreamers whose status here is now uncertain. We fought for gun safety. We've launched a hurricane relief effort. We've designated a restroom, you might not know this, as all gender, so that everyone will feel comfortable here in our communal home. As you heard our president say earlier this morning, our board has been considering the purpose of our congregation. One trustee said, "We all come here hoping to find rewards that we never could have anticipated." Yes, Temple Israel contradicts Rabbi Heschel's critique, which I quoted earlier, in many ways. Right here, we are building a Judaism that is not irrelevant but compelling, not dull but invigorating, not oppressive but liberating. We are about creativity over creed, joy over discipline, originality over habit. This is a place where heirlooms are respected and also reinvigorated. This is a place of action, not defeat. That is why we are Jewish. That is why we are committed to this congregation and to the life of our people. So here we are today. The richness of Jewish life is rightfully ours. And in fact, many of us live Jewishly without even recognizing it. We give time, money, and energy to philanthropies and charities of every stripe. We've taken on positions of leadership for the betterment of our civic community. And our motivation to do these things comes from a sense of Jewish obligation. So this year, let's name that, and let's teach that to our children. Several years ago, I had the pleasure of traveling to Amsterdam on a study trip with Jewish teens. And as we entered the Anne Frank house, we were confronted with an excerpt from Anne's writings. "Who knows," she wrote, "maybe our religion will teach the world and all the people in it about goodness. And that's the reason, the only reason, that we have to suffer. We can never be just Dutch or English or whatever. We will always be Jews as well. And we'll have to keep on being Jews, but then we'll want to be." Yes, at the end of the day, each of us has said, in one way or another, "I want to be," another link in the chain that stretches back 100 generations. We need that grounding in that direction now more than ever. My childhood rabbi, Rabbi Jerry Davidson, wrote, "We are a people that has endured, and in spite of everything, we have never failed to hope and to dream. We are people of accomplishment and success. We live in a world of tumult and uncertainty. We desperately yearn to be more grateful, more compassionate, more generous. We hunger for hope. We nourish dreams of a world repaired. But then again, we already know this in our hearts. After all, that is why we are here. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be so."